coming up in just a few minutes, this Memorial Day, President Obama and the First Lady will host a breakfast honoring military families. And then later this morning, the President will lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknowns and then take time to honor the troops who gave their lives in service to our country. MSNBC military analyst and Medal of Honor recipient Colonel Jack Jacobs joins me now. So, Jack, happy Memorial Day to you, my friend. It's good to see you. So let's talk about this, because a lot of families in this country right now are still going through a very fresh, painful loss of someone that they have that they've given up in sacrifice to our country. So explain what Memorial Day means to those families, to Americans who have lost a loved one.
It's very much different than it is for everybody else. Back in the Second World War, when every household had somebody in service to this country, in contrast to that, right now we have a very small percentage of Americans who have served and who are serving, even smaller who are serving. The loss of a friend or a relative in service is a wrenching one, because we don't, among other things, we don't have this shared sense of sacrifice. And for a lot of families, it seems like they're alone. Alone they have sacrificed for the country. They're proud that they've been able to be in service to keep us free, keep everybody else free. But of course, there's a wide gulf between them and everybody else. Most Americans don't even know somebody in uniform. I think it's a very, very dangerous situation. So in many respects, military families, particularly those who have lost a loved one, feel particularly alone at this time.
And is it harder on our vets? Is it harder on our vets on Memorial Day?
Yeah, sure it is. Those of us who have fought, and particularly in the crucible of war, you get the notion that you don't just fight for the country, you don't just fight to accomplish the mission, you fight for each other. But when you're all alone, and you're one of a very few who are fighting for every isolation, you do get a sense of isolation. Yeah, it's much tougher. And it's tougher for the kids who are out there right now. We've got a bunch of young Americans, men and women around the world, defending a country of maybe 320 million people. Very small number of them are out there. We got to keep them in mind, and we do have to keep in mind every day, not just Memorial Day. Every day, the people who've sacrificed for us.
And meanwhile, certainly President Obama is a strong supporter of our military, but they have a great friend in Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel, being the first vet to hold that cabinet position.
Well, he's the first enlisted man.
First enlisted.
Yeah.
So how does that, I guess, enhance what our military community feels, knowing what Hagel's background is and what his hopes are, because of what he understands our military and how it operates? Well,
it's good news and bad news. The good news is he is a former enlisted man. He's been at the lowest levels of abstraction. He's been at the point of the spear in very, very difficult times fighting in Vietnam. So he understands what it is to be at the point of the spear. This is very, very important to the rank and file in the military establishment. That's the good news. So his heart's in the right place. Now for the bad news. At the end of the day, that doesn't count for much on Capitol Hill and in Washington. And he has got to be not just the best enlisted man ever to be the Secretary of Defense. He's got to, at these difficult times, he's got to be the best Secretary of Defense he possibly can be. And that means that he's got to be able to have sharp elbows and get in there with the Congress and with the White House to make sure that that our defense is the best defense we can get.
Well, I don't think that he has ever been accused of not having sharp elbows. So
no, well, let's see what he can generate for the folks.
Just look for the rips on the corners of his suits. Colonel Jack Jacobs, thank you, sir. Great.